Mike, turn your games down.
Hi, welcome to another spooky comic episode of Games My Mom Found. I am Mike Albertin, and who's carrying ahead with them through France with me tonight?
Hi, everybody. It's Kenneth Sanity, the self-proclaimed emperor of Games My Mom Found.
And Chris, I don't have anything funny to say.
And where can people find you at, Chris?
I'm on Your Stupid Minds, and I'm also on Some of My Friends Read Comics.
Great, and as we're here for another spooky episode, we've been doing every year now for a few years. Actually, I think we skipped a year or two, but off and on for a lot of our Spooktober's. We're doing another Sandman. This time we're covering the Sandman Fables and Reflections trade, which is trade 6, which is just a collection of short stories or one-off issues. I guess either way works, but so that's what we are here to bring you today. I'm continuing my quest to read all the Sandman.
And we have officially passed the halfway point of the mainline story.
I was going to say, of the 70-some issues, 75 issues, right? We're past that.
Which is nice. I mean, I know there's 2 after the main one, right? 11 and 12. I forget what they're called, but I know there's 2 trades.
Endless Nights and Dream Hunters.
I got to buy those still. I have the collection of 10 so far in trade form.
Yeah, and those 10 form the main story. So, I mean, it's really up to you whether or not we continue. Yeah, but if you like the Sandman's world, and this goes to all of you listeners out there, read what you can.
And I'm pretty sure Chris has said this before. It's probably your local library, right? Isn't Sandman there, I'm assuming?
Almost every library I've ever been to has a copy of the Sandman. If it's not in the teen comics section, it's in 71.5, G. For Gaiman, that's where they stick some of the stuff that's too adult for the teen section.
I mean, some of these books are too adult even for a 30-year-old Mike sometimes, but hey. I don't like horror stuff, and sometimes these books. So we're going to do this one a little bit differently. Normally for comic episodes, you listen to a lot of the show, we break down the comic almost like panel by panel sometimes it feels like. But this one we're not. We're just going to pick each story and then talk about each story and then kind of just go on because this one's a little different. Also, it's just... I think like 7 or 8 issues that are just different stuff. And the first one isn't even in like a regular comic. It looked like it was just something from a preview of Vertigo or something, I think. Fear of Falling.
It was just a real short story that was from Vertigo preview number 1. And it feels like the cold open to a Bond movie.
That is a good point.
Like, this is the little story you get as a preview of everything else. And it's important that this kind of sets you up for it because this story barely has Dream in it. Like he's in there for a little bit, but for the most part, it's just kind of
not what I expected. I mean, it just like when I went into reading this, I wasn't expecting what we got. Like I wasn't even for example, like the first story, I looked at it, I'm like, oh, okay, just a few pages. I flipped through, saw how long it was. I'm like, what is this? And I was like, okay, I don't really care. And then I started reading it, and it's all about this guy who's going to quit, who was a director of a play, and he's just going to quit. He's like, I don't want to do this. I can't do this. He tells his aide that comes like, hey, I'm quitting. Like, we're done. Like, I'm coming in tomorrow. You're going to read the letter. We're done. Get lost. Like, and it was like, okay, I wasn't that interested in that. So I'm reading it, and you're introduced to Morpheus. And again, the way they draw Morpheus in this is fucking weird. I didn't like it, but it works. Because again, I mean, I've come to the conclusion and agreement that I'm completely okay with the fact that different times or different people see Morpheus in a different way. Like, that's fine. It makes sense. But I did not like the drawing of Morpheus. But this story really hit me. Like, it hit me more than I was expecting. The whole idea is that there's always 3 choices to everything. You can fail, you can succeed, or you can fly. Or you can fall and fly, or something of that nature.
Yeah, you can either retreat from the action and just give up and not know whether or not you're going to fail. You can fail, or you can fly higher than you ever dreamed possible. And I really dig this story because it really sets up, in as much as there is a central theme to this book, this kind of puts the power of dreams in your mind. And I think throughout all the stories, that's the one central theme that there is. Just the power of dreams.
That's a good way to put it. I was surprised how much it hit me when he makes that comment to him, because you have this guy that's scared of heights, and he's talking about how it's like, hey, I never even climbed trees. Or something happened and he fell one, so he was like, I'm done. And he had a dream where he almost fell and he was done. I'm terrified of heights. I've been on one roller coaster. It wasn't even a roller coaster, some kind of ride. It was a Turtles ride, actually. And it brought me all the way up near the top of the ceiling of the Mall of America. Did it once to impress a girl. Never again. I can't do it. I can't do heights. And so I related to that. Chris, do you have any fear of heights?
I have a little bit, not to that level at all. I go on roller coasters. I do all that stuff. I do, it's something I'm like aware of. My building, there's like a 4-foot railing and then probably 75-foot drop over it. And I'm like, no, I'm not going to look over that.
No, I won't even go. Like, we go to the Mall of America up here in Minnesota, and I won't even go near the edge of the railing. Like, I don't like heights to a huge degree. So it just bothers me. So I could really relate to this one.
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of them either. I had a bad experience on a theme park ride once. Used to do roller coasters all the time, but I don't know if any of you are familiar with the Giant Drop. It's a ride at Six Flags Great America in Illinois.
Nope.
And basically they just lift you up and drop you. It's not a terribly clever name, but everybody's on like this little round seating thing and you're kind of hanging there and you're bolted in with a harness. Well, I'm not the smallest individual in the world, and on the way up, the shoulder harness popped a notch. Like, it didn't go any further, but it just popped one notch. And I've never been more terrified in my life. I cannot do heights at all anymore. And yeah, that was fun.
I don't think fun is the word you're looking for, but we can go with it.
No, terrifying, bone-shakingly awful is a good one.
Yeah, I didn't think that happen. The ride for me went just fine. I just was like, no, I'm good. No need to. I'm just never doing this again. But it's just such an interesting little story. Like, it kind of surprised me how much it grabbed me and how much I found myself relating to this character who then, after he has this dream, after Morpheus talks to him, he goes back and he's able to, face his fears and he continues to play. But you are right, Ken. Like you said earlier, these stories are all so much about, just Morpheus existing and not really like it's not like a Morpheus-centric story, which again, Sandman never really is or has to be. It's different.
Right. And like Morpheus shows up in most of the stories. Hell, all of the Endless show up in one. And
I can't wait to talk about.
Oh, that one's going to be fun. But like, it's just, it feels like a tone setting book. And I've heard people say that this is probably the least essential volume of the series, just because, there's no actual main plot, with the exception of, maybe a story we'll talk about later. But I disagree. I feel like this is a good, like, kind of setting the tone of what's to come. And the biggest thing is that quote that starts the book from Shakespeare, from All's Well That Ends Well. And the quote is, "They say miracles are past, and we have our philosophical persons to make modern and familiar things supernatural and causeless. Hence it is that we make trifles of terror, ensconcing ourselves in seeming knowledge when we should submit ourselves to an unknown fear." Man, that's a good quote.
It's just what they do with this. Like, I also completely disagree that for someone saying that this is not essential.
Well, the least essential.
Okay, I can't speak. I haven't read enough, but
I can kind of understand it. But again, that's just because it's not directly related to the plot. But there's important stuff in here.
God, yes. Like the first main story of this issue, which I had, which is called Three Septembers and a January, which I had heard about. So I listened to a podcast called The Comic Conspiracy, with their big Sandman fans, and every so often they come up and they talk about. Sandman will come up and they'll mention stuff, and they mentioned this thing, and it meant nothing to me, obviously. But I'm like, okay, what is this? Because they said, the Emperor of the United States. I'm like, what? This sounds interesting. And that was it. They just, just mentioned that it exists. Like, oh, that'd be a great episode for the Sandman show. I can't wait to see them do that someday. And that was it in the story. They just mentioned it, and I was always curious. So when I started reading this, and we get to the point when you find out like what the story is about, I was like, I'm here.
and it got me. Is a really good story.
It is. Chris, I'm assuming you read this one back in the day.
Yes, I read all of these. This is the Emperor Norton story, right?
Mhm.
Yes.
I'm looking at the comic issue order, and so I'm like being forced to jump back and forth.
Yeah, no, it's not easy.
It's confusing.
Because they're not even issues in order. It's just they just took a bunch of issues and kind of shoved it into a trade.
Yeah, the Emperor Norton story was issue 31. We mentioned the Vertigo preview was Fear of Falling. And then, the next issue is 29. It's very annoying the way that they just put all these together and were like, here you go.
I mean, that's why I read the trade. That's why I didn't read this online, because I didn't want to sit there and pull up issue to issue. I'm like, I'm just going to grab the trade. I'm just going to sit down and read the trade.
But again, that is how I would recommend someone read this. I'm just doing this because I don't have it in front of me.
This was like, I was surprised to see all, like, I think you have all, you don't have all the family. You have a bunch of the family in this issue.
Yeah.
And that surprised me because you're not interested, because you don't see, oh God, what is the one that's, the one that's essentially going that the Emperor is about, because when you first see this guy, he's about to kill himself. Oh God, what the hell is that name? Endless.
Despair.
Yes, my brain could not think of Despair. I mean, it's just cool. You don't get Despair very. I think we had Despair one time before this.
Well, we had Despair in the Doll's House.
Yes,
but that was always in working with Desire, and this is kind of Despair on her own. Kind of working their influence on this man named Joshua, who later is Joshua Abraham Norton, the first, last, and only Emperor of the United States of America, a person from real history.
Yep.
Who has a ton of stuff in San Francisco named after him.
I didn't know that.
Oh, yeah.
I'm assuming he wasn't the Emperor of the United States, so I'm pretty sure.
He declared himself to be.
Yeah, I mean, he was the first and last.
Yeah.
Wait, that's real?
Yeah.
Okay, I did not know that. I thought it was just something they did. Okay.
Yeah, he was. I mean, you would call him a crazy person, except that everyone sort of was like, yeah, that's fine. And he's more just an eccentric.
That is really cool. Okay, that just took the story and just raised it, because I'm looking now online and like, yeah, it's real. Like, okay.
Yeah, it's absolutely nuts. He was basically treated like an emperor. Like, the city sold souvenirs, and like he got free stuff all over the place because San Francisco loved him. It's nuts.
I did not I just thought it was just a cool story.
No.
Oh yeah, this is the explanation for how this guy who just sort of had a break from reality, but was loved by all as a result, how that happened.
Well, I'm reading his official acts as emperor, what the person did. July 16, 1860. That's dissolved the United States of America. August 12, 1869. Dissolved and abolished the Democratic and Republican parties because of party strife. Okay.
Yep.
I can get behind that one. Start over.
Yeah. I mean, that's what Washington said, right? His farewell speech was like, don't form political parties. So
spoiler.
Yeah. It's a very fun story. And yeah, it's, I will say, this is when I read this, and I still think it's a good story. I think I've complained in the past, Gaiman goes to this well too often. He loves to have a historical character be like, ooh, I knew this historical character that you may not have heard of. And that in 1992 or whatever, that's kind of a cool party trick. But when he's doing it in like Eternals in 2011 or whenever that was, it was like 2006. But still, it's like Wikipedia exists. It's no longer a cool trick to be like, yeah. I knew J.M. Barrie and he saw me flying around and was like, you're like some sort of pan. It's just, it gets to be like too cute that everybody knows everybody. But here, this is still, I think this is a good story, so it's okay.
That's cool.
Yeah, like it is a really good story about the power of dreams. Like,
yeah, and I really, like, I couldn't stop. I read the story twice, and I'm going to see myself reading the story again. Like, being able to see despair, you see delirium, and I like the way they draw delirium in this a lot, in this issue, where she's just, like, you don't see her. I haven't seen her a lot in the story. I think she was in the Season of Mist story arc, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, she hasn't really shown up a ton by this point.
No. I mean, you just see a little bit with her, and, like, I just love the way they did the bubbles where everything's in a different color, and like it was just so cool.
And then of course, Death's hanging about.
I love Death. I will never get tired of that character in this book. Like every time I see her, I'm like, that's great. Such a cool character. She just looks so cool too.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I can't get over it. It was just so damn cool. Like everything with like the whole idea that he was going, that he was essentially going to commit suicide, which looked very painful, by the way, with a razor blade. But it is the 1800s, so I get it. But that just seems like a very bad way to go.
And then he's just kind of inspired by talking with Dream and just like, hey, man, why don't you not do that and go do something crazy? And he's just like, well, by gum, I do believe I will.
Yeah.
And like you even get introduced to Desire in this, and the way they do Desire, like I love how they always say like he. I think the thing is he, she, because Desire is it's both essentially in this book. This character.
Yeah, Desire is sexless.
Yeah. I really like Desire too. Like the whole thing of trying to get a dead man to like, hey, well, why don't you tell Norton, like, here, Norton, you can choose what woman do you want. Like he's like, I don't want nothing.
No thanks.
You're dead. Get out of here. It was just and I think there's a part. God, I think I need to flip some pages now. This is weird. I don't normally have to do this with the episode. I'm usually scrolling, not flipping pages. But I really laugh when the dead guy gets back in the carriage. What does Delirious say? Oh yeah, get down and lick. I just laugh my ass off. I'm like, all right, that could be multiple things they're referencing, but that made me laugh. Made me laugh my ass off.
Yeah. Yeah, I do like, too, that when Death shows up for Norton finally, she's like, you know what, I met a lot of kings and emperors, but you were probably my favorite, because he has no, like, there's nothing bad. He just is the formality of an emperor, but he's not actually, he's just out there pardoning cats and, making things good for the people of his city. He's not actually doing anything an emperor usually does.
Yeah, he's having a good time.
Do they still sell trinkets and stuff like that in San Francisco?
Oh, I'm sure.
Because if I'm going to go to San Francisco someday, just because I want to, I'm trying to visit more of the country. But now I'm going to look for one. I'm going to be like, I want this for the same reason probably most people buy this, Sandman.
Yeah.
Yeah, like he issued currency. They on the 1870 U.S. Census lists Joshua Norton as 50 years old, residing at 624 Commercial Street, and his occupation in the U.S. Census is listed as emperor.
That's fucking awesome.
Yeah, like that's just great. And like they say in the story that restaurants accept his currency as legal payment. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, it reminds me, and it's sort of taken on a new form after the last the past decade. But it reminds me, one of my favorite authors has a great scene in it's called The Book of the New Sun, and there's a character who is talking about the emperor of their Earth, and he's just some guy who thinks he's the emperor, and through force of will, he's gotten everyone else to believe he's the emperor. And that's just sort of a magic trick that everyone comes to accept it. And again, it has a different context today, because I'm like, man, that did happen like 7 years ago. Somehow, through force of will, people were like, yeah, this guy knows best.
Yeah, why not?
That's cool.
But yeah, it's just like, yeah, that's through his sort of sheer force of personality and the strength of his dream of being this guy that everyone's like, yeah, why not? Like, they just treat him like it because he acts like it,
It's funny that you mentioned Book of the New Sun, because the introduction to this volume was written by Gene Wolfe.
Wow. That's, it makes sense, because that's Neil Gaiman got me into Gene Wolfe, so it's his fault.
All right, and yes,
Gene Wolfe.
They still sell stuff, it looks like, from what I'm able to tell.
Oh, fantastic.
So yeah, if I ever go to San Francisco, I'm looking for it.
Yeah, it's not surprising. That was for, probably the first 50 years of San Francisco, the best non-racism export of this. It's a lot of the Pacific Northwest. And I know San Francisco is not quite the Northwest, but they still had a big Chinatown population, and so their big export was a lot of barely above slave labor for about 50 years.
Yeah, I can believe that, unfortunately. And, well, I was going to say opium too, but that's also possible.
Yeah, that's, so that's, I hope that made you like this story even more.
It did. It completely, lifted the story. Now I can't wait if we ever I don't think we will, get lucky enough to get this story in a live action thing. Sandman show? We won't, but
I would love it if they, because it's just, again, I've complained, not to derail a Sandman episode, but I've complained so much about like what I hated most about the Marvel Netflix shows is that they would set up season-long arcs and then they were structured like streaming shows, so nothing happened for like 7 episodes or 6 episodes. And it's just like, you are comics. Like you can be like an X-Files Freak of the Week show and then have the last 2 minutes be like, what's the Kingpin up to? Like, there's no reason you couldn't have Daredevil fight the Stilt Man for like 20 minutes. It doesn't have to be that serious. But yeah, I would love it if any of the issues from this series got turned into, and I feel like really Orpheus is the only one that has a chance to, but the rest would be awesome.
I mean, this could work. I mean, you could easily do like a 20, 30-minute thing about the Emperor this easily. Like you did with Sandman with a couple episodes from Dream Country, and they just fit it in. Like, you could easily do that.
Yeah, you could get like Stephen Tobolowsky or just some character actor to be the Emperor Norton.
In the audio version of Sandman, Emperor Norton was actually played by John Lithgow.
Oh, that would be good.
I can see it. He's a good actor, too. So.
Oh, I love him so much.
Man. Okay.
And this is it's a charming story.
It is.
It was grand.
I just can't get over how much more you guys maybe appreciate it. And the next one is Thermidor, which is was not my favorite at first. What issue is, I don't know. It's harder to figure.
29. So this was actually before all the other issues, weirdly. And it's just sort of, this is kind of the sequel to the Hob.
The one with the guy that never dies.
Yeah, the Hob issue with the guy that just stays alive, where that was it Joanna Constantine?
Yeah.
Is back.
Yep.
So, this one was really strange. Like I had to read this one. I read it once and I was fucking confused all hell because, again, all these stories jump through different points in time. That one's the 1800s. This one starts out in 1794. And you just have Morpheus coming to visit Johanna, who's Constantine. We met in like he just said, other issue, and she's given a quest. And like all of a sudden, within a couple pages, she has a random head that looks like Morpheus's head. I thought it was Morpheus's head. It wasn't until later on I realized it wasn't Morpheus's head. It was Orpheus's head.
Orpheus, of course.
Mm-hmm.
I was this issue made absolutely no sense to me until after I read the whole trade and went back and read it a second time. Then I appreciated it.
It's fair.
It's too early.
Yeah, I do. I enjoy this issue. I think it's a lot of fun, but I do miss, when I think it was in the late 90s, Marvel started having like fold out covers where they would be like, it would give you like a 1 paragraph about every character that is an important character in the comic.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, that would be very helpful to be like, who is Robespierre? In case you don't know French history at all.
I did not.
Like, who is, this history? Because obviously they're historical. Joanna Constantine, not real. I'm sorry to break it to you.
What? How can you say that?
That we've proven yet.
but Robespierre, real.
Yeah, very real. Both he and Louis Antoine de Saint-Just were both huge players in the French Revolution.
They called it the Terror? I don't see why. It seems so relaxed.
Yeah, it's a good time. Just everybody's hanging out.
It made me want to play Assassin's Creed Unity.
Yeah,
it really did. I was like, I never did play Unity because Unity's actually where I stopped.
Yeah, I didn't play that one. Is that's set in revolutionary France? Maybe I should play that one.
It works now, so now you should. Because when it came out, it was a buggy mess, but it's been years now. It's fine. So
it really was.
I remember playing 3, and that was the first one of those games that I played where I was like, I don't like this one.
3 is one of my least favorites. It's not
Same though.
You spend like 3 hours like in the woods, like not even in a town. Like it's
don't play 3 first. Go play 2. 2 still holds up. I can tell you that for sure. So go play 2. And then you can. 1 I think is still good too, but that's it. But it was just a weird story. Like there's early on, you see her when she gets stopped by some random guard. She spits on the face of the head she's carrying, and I was just really, really confused for a while. I'm like, what the hell is going on here? Like, what am I reading?
I mean, just so I remember. So Dream gave her the mission, right? So you thought Dream cut off his own head and gave it to her?
That's what I thought.
Okay.
That's what I was under. I mean, it's not, but that's what I was under the impression. I'm like, why does she have Dream's head?
But the lettering helps too, because once he comes alive, he doesn't talk like Dream. He talks like a guy.
Yeah, he doesn't talk in the black dialogue bubbles.
Yeah.
That did not click, by the way. No, I was just completely confused with everything that was going on in this book. I mean, all of a sudden she's captured by the French and they're beating her and threatening to kill her. And I'm like, what the fuck? And she's like, oh, and this guy's like, oh, I slept with you and I shouldn't have slept with you. I'm like, the hell is going on? I was just very confused. I didn't like it. I mean,
it's always good to see Thomas Paine show up too.
I knew that was a real guy.
Yeah, but good old common sense Thomas Paine.
I'm assuming he died also horribly.
Oh, he died, but like he was one of the founding father type folks in America.
Yeah, he was one of the American, like him and Ben Franklin were like the two main journalists, founding fathers.
Oh,
so he went to. Both of them went to France, but Ben Franklin mostly went to France for sex. He went to France to try to start a revolution, and then was very unhappy with what happened.
Yeah.
He got beheaded, didn't he? I'm assuming.
I don't know if he got beheaded or if he just got kicked out.
I mean, kicked out is better than having your head cut off. So.
Well, no, he died in the U.S.
Oh, okay, that's better.
He was asked to leave France, but again, was not happy with what happened there.
French, he didn't want the revolution.
Well, he wanted a revolution. It's just he didn't want a decade of anarchy, basically leading to a emperor taking over.
No, basically, he said, all right, guys, have a revolution. Wait, no, not like this.
Yeah. Which he's just like, well, we did it in America and we didn't have to like murder people for a decade. And they're like, yeah, well, this is France.
Sucks for you.
Yeah, this is France. We have a lot more people we hate.
Yeah, and that's why France still doesn't take any shit.
Let's get the guillotines out. Like, well, see what you did. We did there, hundreds of years ago. We'll do it again.
And that's why, Les Mis, it happens every time you try. Like, should the Olympics go to Paris? And like, no, the streets are on fire. Like immediately, the second you try to suggest, like they are not going to put up with it.
Which good for them. We could use a good revolution in this country. Maybe not like this. Probably not.
Yeah, probably not. Probably not like this one. Because again, that led directly to Napoleon taking power and creating an empire.
That didn't work out too great for him, though.
No. And here we just have to send people to Waterloo, Iowa. Ugh.
Oh, and there was a scene in this book that got me too in this issue where you see her look out the window of her cell essentially, and you just see two headless bodies dancing as puppets.
Yep.
Yeah.
I feel like that's probably something that happened.
Yes.
Like, this wasn't him just making up something. Like, I bet that happened.
Yeah, it definitely did. This, like I said, they call it the Terror. They don't call it that because it was cool.
There's certain stuff like that where, like, when I read it or watch it, like, there was a documentary I was watching about when the nuclear power plant in Japan, when it flooded and everything. There's a scene with a guy goes into a room and the room shuts and then water's coming. And I'm like, I'm not okay with this because I'm pretty sure this isn't fiction. It was just like, no. Because, the show wasn't, it was fiction, but it was also like a reenactment type thing. And when they had that scene, I turned it off and never went back. I'm like, nope. It bothered me too much. Because I'm like, that probably happened to some guy.
Yeah, and I will say this for everything. This particular issue is pretty historically accurate.
Okay.
Except for the head part. I don't know if that happened.
Well, you can't prove it didn't. So...
you don't know, but it was one of when I first read it, it was like the least favorite of mine.
Yeah, and eventually you do, you get some creepiness happening.
Yeah, and you don't know to trust Joanna because she seemed bad whenever she showed up in the previous issue, and she's not really bad in this. It's just sort of circumstances.
Yeah.
I also couldn't read her cursive when she has the parts that's like her writing a letter or her talking. I had a really hard time reading it, so I just skipped it.
That is funny to me. Yeah. Like whenever I've gotten so much worse at it, like some comics from the 80s and 90s will still have cursive handwriting. And you're like, please don't do this to me.
Fucking hate cursive. Hate it. I used to work at a print place and I would have people bring me, every so often I had people bring me and want to like translate stuff and type it up for them. I'm like, if it's in cursive, I'm like, you can rewrite it. I ain't doing it. Like, it ain't happening. Like, we ain't doing this. Fucking hate cursive. I can read it, but I hate it. Just print. It's 2023. Right. Just print.
Yeah. So yeah. What's the next issue? The next issue is where are we at?
Oh, I do want to say how the issue ends, where he brings the head of his. That's when I found out it was his son. I didn't realize Orpheus was his son until they say something. But when she brings the head to Greece, and I'm like, oh, okay, and then it all made sense.
Yeah, so Joanna gets out of France because Orpheus decides to start singing, and so do all the other decapitated heads.
Yeah.
Oh, I did not catch that. All right.
Yeah, it's a little creepy, but that pretty much just kind of stunned the two French guys into just standing there.
Yeah, I still, whenever Orpheus shows up, I just hear like the riffs from the game Hades from a few years ago.
Fair.
Like the second it happens, I'm like, here we go. Because like that's my frame of reference. And so the issue we're gonna talk about in a little bit, I was like, you're you. Like I know who all of you are in the game Hades.
That's funny. That's cool though. I haven't played Hades. I have it, but I haven't touched it yet.
Oh, it's so good.
It's really fun. Like I know some people don't like roguelikes, and so I get it. I would say if you start playing it now in 2023, just turn on God mode. Nobody cares.
I would have anyway.
It's like, it's fine. The game is still a little difficult. It's just, it scales very easily if you have God mode on, where eventually you will progress. But it's really fun. And you learn so much about all of these Greek characters, like relationships to each other, which is, again, we'll talk about it in a little bit. So I don't want to jump past it.
Wait. There's a God mode?
Yeah.
Or you get like extra level ups or something happens when you die 3 times or 10 times.
Yeah, every time you die in God mode, you start at I think 25% damage resist or something like that, and every time you die, it goes up a little bit. So by the end, you're at like 75% damage resist or something like that. And the good thing is, once you figure out the game, you don't really need it anymore, but it will show you like how to get past the first couple of worlds when you're like, I don't know what I'm doing.
Oh, son of a bitch! I've been playing it wrong this whole time. Oh well.
Yeah, the first time I played it on God mode, and then I got it for, I think the Switch was the second console I bought it for. And I was like, no, I know what I'm doing now. I don't need to do this. And once you know how, especially in the third level, I feel like replaying it, I never get touched by anything until those stupid chariots in the third world.
Oh, fuck those chariots.
I do want to play it. I've been playing one roguelike Undermine, and that's made me not like roguelikes again, so... Maybe I'll give Hades a try at some point, though. I definitely need to.
It's really fun. And like I said, you learn so much about sort of who is who in Greek mythology, and also just the relationship of the chthonic gods, which Dream is not really, but he's, the Endless are different than Greek gods, but he sort of fits them in where, you have these different sort of death gods that are like different than the regular Greek gods. And so they're like, oh yeah, there's these other guys we don't really know. They're like mystery guys. And so they show up in the game. You've got like Chaos and these other characters that Zeus is like, I don't know who that is, but they sound okay.
Okay. I'm definitely you got me more interested than I was. So I'll have to, at some point I'm going to play it. I know that. But that brings us to the next issue.
Chaos, I guess, would be Delirium.
Oh yeah, probably. Is The Hunt. This one, I read this one twice too. I don't know. I like it, especially more the second time I read it.
This is the werewolf one, right?
Yeah.
Yes. Which did not click to the second time I read it.
This one's just fun.
Yeah.
Like it's a fairy tale. And it's all worth it for that last paragraph in the story.
I mean, it's just an old guy telling his granddaughter about a story from the old country, and like as he continues on, I'm like, all right. And then he makes a comment pretty early on where he's like, oh, and the character's named Vasily, and she's like, that's yours, shut up. Essentially, yeah, it is just a fairy tale. Like I was surprised though, like where it went, and like there were a couple things that didn't click right away, and like they do a good job of having the panels of the story, and then all of a sudden jumping over to present day of the old man talking to his granddaughter.
And his granddaughter's just like, yeah, okay, whatever, granddad, let's put you in the home.
Hey, I'm okay with that. Call me. I'll help. But I had to. But it didn't click. Like I didn't realize he was a werewolf until the second time reading this. That did not click.
Like the first time I noticed it when I was reading this was, way back in the day. But there's a scene where Vasily stops at an inn.
I like this one.
And the innkeeper creeps in to kill him and steal his goods. And then you see his fingers go to snuff out the candle, but on his left hand, you can see claws.
I have to pull the book up now, and I did not catch that, Ken. Thank you, sir.
We do good radio here, folks.
That's fucking cool. So all you listeners out there, please turn to page. I don't know what page this is of your trade while you're driving. So no, that is cool. I did not catch it. I figured that he killed him and ate him because he talks about how he didn't like the food, and then the next panel he says he set off due west from the sunrise, well rested and well fed. So I'm like, yeah, he ate the fucker.
He ate that fat guy.
I mean, the guy had it. Like, it's just funny because he's like, oh, he didn't sleep on the bed. He slept on the floor, and then the guy opens up a panel behind the head of the bed and drives an axe into the bed to kill him. I mean, that fits though. Whatever year this is supposed to be, that fits. I feel like probably, people did that.
And then right after he kills the man, he meets a very tall person.
I did recognize him.
I was going to say, did you clock that it was Lucian right away?
Yeah, that did click right away.
Good. See, you're getting there.
Just the werewolf stuff didn't. I'm surprised because when I'm looking back at this now, like they make it obvious that he's a werewolf. They make comments.
Yeah.
There's a panel when he's chasing the deer where his teeth are a little bit more fanged than they should be. There's references to the moon. Like, there's comments in here about them being werewolves.
Oh, yeah.
Do not fucking click.
And I do like the appearance of Baba Yaga in here. That's always a pleasurable thing.
I hate to admit, or I don't hate to admit, but I'm going to admit, that my first realization of the name Baba Yaga was from the Ant-Man movie. When he's like, Baba Yaga!
Well, at least he didn't say John Wick. That's what other people would have said, too.
Oh, I haven't watched enough John Wicks, probably then. Only seen the first one. There's also Baba Yaga in Rise of Tomb Raider. Good game, by the way. There's DLC with that.
And that kind of places our story. It's more of like an Eastern European type story, kind of verging into the whole Russia thing, because Baba Yaga is very much a Russian, Eastern European folktale.
But no, I did. You are right. It's very much a Eastern tale, and I like that. I enjoyed it. Like, it was just very interesting. I was very curious where where he was going to go. Like, I also didn't realize that heart that he has is based on a real thing too, like Kosko Deathless or whatever the hell it was. Ken? Or is it Ken's animal? I thought it was my dog.
No, it was Ken's.
Oh, okay. Because my dog does it.
Yeah. Yeah, no, the death of Koschei the Deathless is also a Russian fairy tale. So, again, that really kind of landlocks it exactly what we're talking about here.
It was just very cool. When he finally does, like, the whole thing is him trying to get to this castle because he got a pendant from this peddler that got murdered. Did he murder the peddler? Or did someone else? Like, I didn't understand that part.
I think somebody else murdered the Romani woman that was in the forest.
Okay. Because she realized he's a werewolf, and that's why she runs away.
Yeah.
Because he helps her, he gives her a rabbit, and then she gets terrified. Because
Yeah. I did like the sign of the evil eye that she cast. I was like, okay, cool. That is appropriate.
And that's what sets him on his whole journey to find this woman in the pendant, and he gets locked in a freaking dungeon. That was kind of cool. Like, he goes to the servant guy's like, oh, yeah, sure, just keep following me right this way. I'll put you in the waiting room. We'll go wake her. And he just locks him in a cell.
But then, of course, Lucian comes back because third time always does the charm and brings him to Dream's realm. And then Dream talks to Vasily, and in exchange for the book, which is one of those books that was never actually written, but was in the library.
Oh yeah, because doesn't he have books that were dreams essentially?
Yeah, like books that are essentially not ever written, but were dreamed. And this one, The Redemption of Dr. Faustus, never actually happened.
That's so cool. And you go, Chris.
This is like the most Witcher-y I think the Sandman ever gets.
Oh yeah.
I like how when he wakes the woman up, she's just like, oh, hi. Like, what are you doing in my room? Like, okay.
Like, everything about it. You're like, yeah, this is clearly from the same country that made The Witcher.
Same area, yeah.
Yeah.
I've not played The Witcher, any of that stuff, or read any of those books, unfortunately, yet.
They're fun, but they have this tone of like fairy tales where, there's a lot of just casual monsters.
I'm okay with that.
Casual monsters, not quite a happy ending.
Yeah.
It's very Grimm's Brothers also.
Yeah.
Which is, it's nice. And, the ending where, Vasily has this chance, just gives back the pendant, doesn't want to end up with her. And just when Lucian asks Vasily about the Duke's daughter, he shook his head and said nothing, but the Lord of Dreams knew that wishes are sometimes best left ungranted. That's a good line.
It is. I really like that line. Same as the song Garth Brooks Unanswered Prayers. But hey. Came out first. Now I'm curious. Okay. But in that scene when he's eating dinner with Sandman, I like how you in the background you can see the cloak, the helmet, the ruby, the powder, like all the whole outfit from the first arc.
Mm-hmm.
Just in the back panel. I mean, they don't reference it. It's just there, and I'm like, nice job.
Yeah, and because of the time frame, you know that this was before, but not too much before everything got taken by John Dee.
Yeah. God, when I finish this whole thing, I'm going to reread the first volume for sure. I'm excited to reread because it'll make a lot more sense.
Definitely. Although there's still a bunch of DC references you still won't get. You won't get Dr. Destiny as like, oh yeah, the comics character we all remember.
Yeah.
I know of him now. That's it. Or the classic Sandman, I know of it.
Right, exactly. The Jack Kirby Sandman.
But yeah, I won't be tracking down those to read ever. No, thank you. And the whole idea that like, the end of this is where it shows him turn into a wolf. I didn't understand it right away until like they start to kind of explain it. Like, okay, yeah, he's a werewolf and he turned into a wolf and he, mated with the other wolf. And then when he's talking to his granddaughter, he makes a comment about, something about his grandmother, about that, that being his, the grandmother.
Yeah, I wish you could have known your grandmother. She was an amazing woman. She knew the value of things, and she never let me forget that she had beaten me to the deer.
It's so good.
That's just the entire story is worth that one panel.
Yeah.
It was. I was like, yeah. I read this twice, and I really enjoyed it, especially the second time. This was a book where you really need to read it twice. And then that brings us to our next story. Second least favorite of this book. August.
Oh yeah,
This is bleak, man.
I didn't understand what was going on. I only read it once because I ran out of time, but I don't like. This isn't Julius Caesar because he talks. I mean, this is like
Caesar Augustus.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the one afterwards.
Rome, a city of brick, and he turned into a city of marble. That guy.
Yeah,
he's real. Believe it or not.
I believe that, but I didn't know. Like I knew of him, but not really. I was kind of confused.
Yeah, he's the reason for which we have the month August.
Yeah, he's kind of the most famous, or at least the most successful. Caesar sort of, takes the power away from the Republic, and then or the Senate, and then after there's like a three-way war, Augustus Caesar is king for what, like 60 years, 50 years, a long time.
Yeah, like he was, 27 BC to AD 14.
So 40 years.
That's a good chunk.
Damn, that's a while. And this time to be, in power that long and not get murdered.
Yeah.
So he was pretty young whenever he took over, but yeah, he's like the guy that after. I mean, everybody knows Julius Caesar because they made a play about him.
Yeah.
Julius Caesar got assassinated
Brutally.
He only made it 5 years.
Yeah. So he was only king for a little bit, and then Caesar Augustus is king for a long time. And this book is not very flattering to Julius Caesar.
No.
I
just didn't understand. Like you have the whole idea of the story is that Augustus and then this dwarf that they say in here that they go out as beggars.
Yeah,
and they
go out into the streets and disguise themselves.
Make themselves really ugly with soap and wine or vinegar or whatever the hell it is. Very strange.
Right, which is that's a common story. That's from I forget what I think a Roman writer. I don't know if it's true, but a Roman writer said that Augustus used to do that. And it's also so we did 3 Septembers and a January, and now we're doing August. So we're doing more months.
Yeah, and Thermidor is essentially July.
Yes.
So yeah, like it's very monthy.
Yeah, that's the connective tissue theme is we've done several months now. We're doing the month named after this guy.
And oh gosh, I'm trying to doing some looking here, trying to figure out who said that Caesar Augustus went out, but I don't know. I can't tell. But that's a pretty common thing in Greek stories. Ulysses did it too, and that's a big one.
Well, his dog recognized him, though.
Yeah, well, you smell like man. You smell like master. That makes sense.
Even though that dog, he'd been gone for what, 10, 15 years? The dog immediately was like, nope, I know him.
Nah, I know that ball smell anywhere. That's Pops.
Yeah. And then the dog died because it was like 20 some years old. But this was a bleak story. So yeah, it's about Caesar Augustus explaining that, I guess, what dream came to him, and it's sort of a parallel to the deal with Norton, right? Where he's just like, do you want to have everything be named after you for like 1,000 years and have this sort of permanent rule, or do you want this to sort of fall apart as soon as you're dead?
Yep. And he sure did that well.
Yeah, and he's just like, well, I hate this, so.
And it's a story about why he hated it. And that's absolutely fair. Oof.
I just like, there's the one panel where you see them talking, and you see a guy walk over and just keeps going panel, and you see the guy just piss on the side and then walk away. That made me laugh.
Yeah, it's it's an interesting story. I do think it's probably my least favorite of this arc because it is so bleak, and I don't know. I mean, it's just he's kind of trying to make this point, and is again very like Julius Caesar is this guy to make this point, and I don't know. Again, I'm not trying to like excuse like terrible things or anything, but I know in Greek culture, is like, they didn't have our conception of homosexuality. It was sort of like, well, like everybody's a little gay, for a little while, but then you get married. That was just like a normal thing that Greek men did, I guess. And so I don't know. I'm not a ethnologist or sociologist or anthropologist, so I don't know. But I do think that it's a little bit judgy that they're like, Caesar is the bad guy here. Like this was a terrible thing he did, and it like scarred Augustus and made him this way.
Yeah, like I don't know. I didn't need that at the end of the story.
Yeah.
And like I don't know. Like it's
strange.
It's
unnecessary.
It's unnecessary, I think.
I just didn't care for this story. I just didn't need to read it again. I was like, I'm good. This is just I didn't understand it or didn't get it or care.
Yeah. Like I understand what they were going for. And again, adding to the central story of the power of dreams. But yeah, I don't need an old man thinking about being buggered by his great uncle and then crying in the night when he's older.
Yeah.
I don't need that. It's kind of a bummer.
Yeah, it's not fun. And it's like I said, I also just feel like it is unnecessarily just like shocking. I don't know. Maybe I'm reading too much into it, but I just didn't like it.
No, and Morpheus didn't even feel necessary in it either. Wasn't the same.
Yeah.
Yeah, Morpheus is again, it's similar to his role in Emperor Norton, but it feels like he's just there to like, oh yeah, we got to have these guys in here.
Yeah, I just meh. By the way, it was Suetonius who wrote the biography of Augustus Caesar who said all this stuff.
There you go.
Yep.
Okay. All right, and that brings us to another issue, Soft Places.
Yay!
I only read this one once because I ran out of time, and I just didn't care to read it twice.
Fair enough.
This one, I didn't care for this one either much. I didn't really understand what was happening.
It's fun.
It's not my favorite, but I think it's interesting.
So the idea is Marco Polo lost in the desert, and I can't understand if he was actually dreaming and lost in the desert or really lost in the desert.
Well, that's the point. He's
you
see the mirage, and the mirage is the like, is this a dream or is this real? Like that's kind of what's happening. Is he's kind of at the edge of the known understanding, and he's able to cross into the dream world.
Yeah, because it's a soft place, hence the title.
I mean, there were a couple, like, I like the fact that Fiddler Green shows up. I enjoyed that.
Oh, that's always a joy. He's so pleasant.
I mean, and again, this is taking place when, it's supposed to be when Sandman's missing?
Is it just before?
Because it's Marco Polo, which it doesn't say, yeah, it says 1278. So, way before he goes missing.
Yeah.
And Marco Polo, also, there's a really good Netflix show about Marco Polo also, by the way, called Polo. I recommend it. I liked it a lot. I doubt it's accurate, but it was good.
I haven't seen it, but I know what my complaint is going to be. Not enough done in one monster of the weeks.
Definitely not that. It was back when Netflix used to make shows and let them go for more than one season.
I remember seasons.
There's a writer's strike now. They don't have anything because Netflix doesn't pay anyone. They had Orange is the New Black for 8 seasons, and they were paying their third, fourth stars the minimum rate.
But if you don't do that, then how is your CEO going to be one of the most paid producers in the world? Come on now.
You're right. Yeah, you can't make $30 million a year if you're paying someone, I don't know, a few $100,000.
Can't.
Right. You don't get rich by giving money away.
No. And by giving away, you mean paying for the work they did.
Potato.
Yeah. So, this is an interesting one. I do like that Fiddler's Green doesn't like the Marco Polo's doing this, that he's you're going to basically he's mad that he's filling in the map too much.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. I didn't catch that, but that makes sense.
And that kind of goes back to the quote at the beginning of the book. There's such a rush to, put explanation and names to things that nobody loses themselves in wonder anymore. And that's, true of life. Definitely true in this story.
Yeah. I mean, I love, again, not to derail for too long, but I love looking at old maps, and after around 1650, 1700, we basically know what the shape of every coast looks like, but we don't know kind of what the inside of every country looks like. And it's just interesting that you're just that's a soft place as far as we're okay, well, we know what the coast is because some guy sailed a ship around and detailed wrote down this is what this looks like. This is where this island is. But we don't know what Central Africa looks like. We don't know what Australia looks like because we've never been there. It seems really hard to go.
Easier to sail than it is to stop and walk around. So.
Right. There's a great book that came out I think it was about a year ago. What was that called? It's about these 19th century guys who are looking for the origin of the Nile River. And it's really interesting because that was something that people had been River of the Gods is what it's called. And people had been we know the Nile has to have an origin. It's the biggest river on earth. It's this huge deal, but it gets really hard to track it up as it goes up through Africa, and no white person anyway had ever done it. And so, they were they wanted this completely insane man who had disguised himself as a Muslim to go to Mecca, was I'll do it. And then he got this he's the Christian Bale. They made a movie of it. And then this younger, Ryan Gosling type is I'll go too. And even though everything I do, it turns into a mess. And so, these two men lead this expedition. And so it's really interesting because it's the map's not complete. And that's kind of what the point of this story, I feel like. So I understand it's not my favorite either, but I think it's pretty cool.
That makes sense. I think you explained it really good. You made me appreciate it more. I don't like it, but I appreciate it more. But I don't have to like it. That's fine. But I'm always glad when I can, understand what they're going for with something.
And then the big reveal toward the end is that both, Marco Polo and Rustichello, who is hanging out with them, they've been dead for hundreds of years. And Fiddler's Green's the one that has to tell them.
They're all dead.
Yeah. You're all, you froze the world into rigid patterns, and now you're dead.
So maybe it was... I mean, I don't know, because maybe it was after Dream got out of his...
Because he makes a comment how he's weak.
Yeah.
What year is Marco Polo? No, 1254. That doesn't fit with...
No, yeah, he would have had to have been dead for 700 years or whatever.
Well, yeah. I guess because he's in the soft place, that time doesn't matter.
Well, I think he kind of fell in here.
Morpheus? Or
no, Marco Polo.
Okay.
I think he just kind of fell out of the dreaming. Because Fiddler's Green at this point is, I think, in the real world.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is just after Dream gets out.
It just doesn't make sense with timing, but I guess he could be going through time.
Well, see, that's the thing. Time doesn't matter. What does time matter to a dream?
Good point.
Or to a dead guy, for that matter.
Yeah. Fair. Also a good point. And it does end with Marco Polo waking up in the sand and goes along with the caravan.
So he's back to his real world. Is it real? Is it a dream for the dying? We don't know. And at that point, it doesn't matter to Polo. He's just happy to be back with his father in the caravan.
I mean, being lost in the desert sounds like a terrible, terrible fate.
Yeah. Probably
Yeah.
wouldn't be great.
Yeah, you gotta eat a bunch of like melons to keep your temperature regulated, and then you gotta like change your outfit. It's a whole thing. Tears of the Kingdom or Breath of the Wild.
You got to eat cold food and surf on a shield.
Yes, you do have to do that.
And then that brings us to the biggest story out of this set, the Song of Orpheus, which isn't even part of the main series. It's a Sandman special.
And yet,
Don't know what that means exactly.
it kind of is part of the main series.
Was it like an annual or something then?
Well, like, things happen here that you will see again.
Well, no, he just means it wasn't. It like it's.
Well,
called,
yeah, it wasn't
it's
part
a
of,
special
like, the-
issue. It wasn't a numbered issue of the Sandman.
Yeah.
Okay. So,
yeah.
I mean, normally I feel like I don't buy Bonner comics, so I can't really say a whole lot, but I feel like they normally, like, they do things a little differently when they have, like, they'll just, like, a number to it or something. I can't even Google it. I typed in Sandman special and I got something about not what I was looking for. So that also came out in 2017. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. This is a big book.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is almost like a trade unto itself. Like, this is a long one.
Mm-hmm. This is the reason why we're not doing like we normally do. 'Cause I'm like, this will take a while.
This is classic Greek literature right here.
This, I feel like, should be sooner because after reading, this story is called Orpheus. After reading this story, then it makes the stuff with Johanna actually make sense.
Yeah, it makes you want to go back and read a little bit more and see what you might have missed.
Which I did.
I think it's placed perfectly.
I mean, it's just really interesting. Like, the whole idea is that Morpheus has this son, which they did mention in the main series at some point. Before this, they mentioned in the other issue about his son when they're carrying the head in France. And, like, you see his son getting married. And you see almost all... So, I have a question for you guys. They say somebody's missing from the family. Who I don't know who's missing. Like, because there's a family member here I don't even recognize, the big guy.
Oh,
the armor.
I think this is the first time you see Destruction.
Yes, this is Distraction.
So I did not recognize him. I knew everybody else. And they mentioned some other sibling.
Who are we missing?
We got Dream, Death, Despair, Desire, Delirium, Destruction. 1, 2, 3.
Destiny.
4, 5, 6. Yeah, Destiny. That's all 7.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I thought they mentioned somebody's missing. Maybe I'm wrong.
In a previous story, I think it was in the Norton story, they were talking about how their brother left.
Yeah, Destruction is missing.
Yeah, Destruction's been missing for a while.
Okay, so that's
They've
maybe that's
talked
what it was
about
on
it
combining
before.
stories.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll take it.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure this is the first Destruction appearance.
This has to be. This is the first time I also got to say, for some reason, when they draw Desire in here, it looks just like David Bowie in that panel.
Yup.
I mean, that's kind of how
Yeah, that it kind of is. I mean,
it's either David Bowie or it's the character from is it Depeche Mode had an album cover where there's a character that looks just like that. It's somebody. It's a 80s 90s band like that. There's it's just, and like I know Pearl Jam. I guess that's Do the Evolution had a character that looked like that too, but that's Death. But yeah, it's very much like that type of character. Like what's the word I'm looking for?
androgynous.
Androgynous, that's the one.
Yeah,
It was cool.
androgyny was big in the 80s.
This whole thing was just cool. It's cool to see all the family members together because you don't ever see this before in the series.
Yeah.
Because you never see Destruction before. Like this whole idea that, his son is getting married and you have like this random sitar. I think it's a sitar that just keeps, you see throughout panels and panels talking with him about, hey, will there be wine? There'll be wine, right? And I'm like, all right. And then that took a turn that I didn't expect.
All I can think of is Danny DeVito from Hercules.
Oh, no.
It makes the turn make more sense.
Like, I mean, it's interesting how they do it. Like, the whole idea is that he gets, the satyr gets so drunk, follows after Orpheus's wife, because he wants to rape her, essentially. And then her running away from him, she gets bit by a snake and dies, and he, doesn't admit what he did. And then, they never even mention what he did. Like, they never find out what he did. But just the way Death is, like, you can tell Death knows it's coming before it happens. Well, obviously.
Yeah,
But she makes a comment. She's like,
they're like, you didn't wish us good luck, Destiny. He's like, well, I can't, because I know all the things that are going to happen. And it's
he got the book chained to his arm.
yeah.
Like usual. Nobody fucks with the book.
Oh, but it was just, like, gut-wrenching, too, to see her die. Just get bit by a snake and die. And one of your family members, takes her away, essentially, because, she's deaf.
Ugh.
Fucking, ooh.
And then he doesn't even stick around for the funeral, which is, about right. He's determined
he
to
leaves
get her
the funeral
back.
too, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what you're saying.
Yeah, like Orpheus doesn't even stick around. He's like, nope, I'm out. Peace.
And then when he goes to go visit Dream and you see that panel of the Pegasus, the Griffin and the Dragon, I just could think of the cat. The cat one had that too.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, that's cool. Is this when he disowns him, essentially, or that later? Because I know Morpheus disowns his son.
I feel like that's later.
Yeah.
Because he essentially tells his son to move on. Like, you're a human, you're mortal. Like, there'll be other women. Just move on. Like, this is what happens. You die.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this is where Orpheus is like, well, fine. Then if you're not going to help me, I am no longer your son.
Oh, okay, that's what it was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
So
and then this
very
is
much doing the Dennis Haysbert character from Major League. Help me, Jobu. I say, fuck you. I do it myself.
and this is then then he talks to Destruction then takes him to Death's house. I really, really like this scene of Death's house.
Oh my God, Destruction. Okay, if there's any doubt that Brian Blessed was not the model for Destruction, check yourself, because like I can hear his voice whenever Destruction talks.
Yeah.
Specifically from Blackadder, season 1.
Or Flash Gordon.
Yeah, but like this was the kind of character he was playing in Blackadder. Just very, screaming and death and murder, but fun.
It's just, I'm assuming you guys caught it too, but when he goes to Death's house, like it's a place out of time. She has light bulbs that shouldn't exist. Like nothing is. Oh, it's so fucking cool.
Yeah, she has like goldfish. Yeah, it's a very she seems to be living in the 1980s.
I love how he picks up a stocking. He's like, "What the hell? She got fishnet stockings." I'm like. Just laying her out, and she's like, I would have cleaned up had I known there was company.
This place is so strange to my eyes. And then she makes it cooler.
Yeah.
God, she is so badass in this. And then, like, I love how she changes her outfit and everything to fit how he knows her as, because, she's in a different time. As she travels through time, essentially. I mean, time has no meaning.
Have either of you heard of the Forbidden City, the PC game? I think it's for Xbox as well. That came out a couple of years ago.
I don't know why that sounds so familiar.
It's a very interesting concept. Like the idea is you go back to like a Roman city, and you're like first as an explorer, and then you like
the Forgotten City.
Yeah, the Forgotten City. That's
the one that started off as a Skyrim mod, right?
Yes, it was a Skyrim mod originally. But yeah, this reminds me of that a little bit, especially. Yeah, death just being like so casual. Because in that game, not to spoil that game too much, but yeah, there's a major part where a death god acts like a normal person, and you're like, oh, okay, how's it going? And then later, they're like, oh, people don't trust me because my name's gotten kind of a bad reputation, and you think it's for one reason. I don't want to spoil it. Sorry.
Well, that's fine. You got me to wish list it. I don't know if I'll play it ever, but I might buy it if it gets cheap enough.
I'm sure it'll be like $5 or less at some point, because I think it's on Xbox Game Pass. That's how I played it.
It is.
Got to be Steam Deck for me. So, but if it's short and sweet, I'm in.
Yeah, that's how I play half my Xbox Game Deck or Game Pass games is on the Steam Deck. You just have your Xbox hooked up to it, and you can just play games directly to it. It's awesome, and you actually use less battery that way somehow because it's cloud based. Anyway, okay. Yeah. So he more.
And then Death does something like this is where she tells him like she essentially says she'll never pick him up, so he never dies because he wants to go to hell to go rescue his wife.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. This is not even hell. This is the underworld, because hell is where Lucifer is, which is not where he's going.
Right. He's going to see Hades.
It's Greek hell, so it's a little different. This is everybody uses their Greek names. He's like, Aunt Teleute, that's death. That's everything. Everybody's using a Greek name. So yeah, when instead of going to hell, he's going to Hades.
Okay, it's cool. Like, and you have the part where he, little scene he plays his instrument, and Cerberus falls asleep, and all I could think of was Fluffy from Harry Potter. That's just what came in my head. I'm like, oh.
No sign of Zagreus though. He doesn't. We see Cerberus. We see Hades and Persephone, but no Zag.
You see the people getting tortured from Greek mythology too.
Yep. We see Sisyphus again, all in Hades.
Damn it! You're making me want to play it.
You even see the Furies pop up.
Yep.
And okay, this did not click until later on when I was reading more and more about this book that they make a comment where he's like, you made the Furies cry. They'll never forgive you for that.
Yeah.
It did not click what that meant. It clicks now. Did not click at this point.
Yeah. And keep that in mind. Fury's bad.
Extremely. Bookmark that for later.
Okay. But I like this where they say, okay, you want your wife back? Fine. Just, we'll give your wife back, but you have to walk all the way back to, the world, but you cannot look back ever. And until you're out. And like they show him walking and walking and walking. And then right before he's out, he looks back and there she is because he didn't trust him.
Yeah.
And gone forever.
That's the myth.
I did not know that.
Yeah. Like this is a legit myth. This has been around for, centuries.
Okay, then this shows him old. This didn't click either where his mother, well, again, we had mentioned, but his mother is Calliope. Somebody help me. Calliope, which is, again, in that really good frickin' one issue in volume 3. Fuck, that's a good issue, but fuck, it's a messed up story. But so, like, she's like, oh, I left him. Like, I left Dream. And she warns him to go, that the Bacchus are coming. I didn't realize the Bacchus had to do with the Furies. That's what they are. Something to do with that, right?
Well, they're just nuts.
They're just women that are crazy.
Yeah. I mean, the Bacchante are basically just kind of giving themselves over to the joy of revelry.
Okay. And the joy of murder, apparently, too, in this. So.
Well, it's what happens if you enjoy things too much, you take things to an extreme. Eventually, you just keep trying to top that experience. And then next thing you know, you're eating the fuck out of a dude. It happens.
Oh, yeah, that's what you just have, this is where I'm like, this is a fucking horror comic right here, where you just have panels of him just getting murdered and eaten. So he's nothing but a head.
Yep, and they toss it away into the river.
Oh, then it is just, because he can't die, so he's just a head. And Dream just leaves him in Greece and just leaves him there for other people to take care of him. It's a fucked up story.
Man, that's kind of a bummer. Like, I don't know, this, again, it's not a happy ending.
No. Not a lot of things are, though, to be fair, in this series.
No. And this, Orpheus is very much, oh no, the consequences of my own actions.
It hit me. I was like, this is good and strange all at the same time. It definitely had some moments for me. And that brings us to one of the second to last story, Parliament of Rooks. I don't know how to feel about this one. I only read it once.
It's fair.
So
yeah, and so this is one of the few that is like a direct, this is going back to a story we already started.
Yeah. Like this has got, Lyta Hall again.
Yeah, we mentioned Jack Kirby Sandman. This is the ghost of that character got Lyta Hall pregnant.
Oh, okay.
And then we have Daniel. And Daniel's just off on an adventure. And we see Daniel freely enter the dreaming by himself, just hanging out.
So wait, this character is from something else you guys were saying?
Yeah.
Yeah, was it volume 2?
I think it was Doll's House, yeah.
Doll's, yeah.
So yeah, this is the son of the Sandman and his wife from Doll's House.
Man, I need to reread a lot more of this book. I feel like what's going to happen is I'm going to end up finishing this whole series and go back and read it all. But this time not for the show, the second time. But it is tempting.
But okay. Yeah, keep in mind how easily Daniel just kind of walked into the dreaming. That may be important later.
Mm-hmm.
That makes sense if Daniel isn't exactly human then.
Right, yeah, that his father is like a ghost.
Mm-hmm.
I need to reread Dollhouse. I don't really remember all this. Like, I remember bits and pieces of this. Is this the one where the husband died?
Yes.
And then,
yes.
Okay, it was in the Sandman show. That's why I remember it more.
Yeah, and so Daniel is his son, who is half dream, basically, or half ghost, or whatever he is. And so he can go to the dream world.
And just kind of hang out. And he's going to chill with Matthew.
I like that you see the gargoyle again, which again, reference to the first arc. You have Cain and Abel, reference to the first arc.
Oh, Cain and Abel just pop up at the best times. I love them.
Mm-hmm.
I believe them.
They're so much fun.
I don't like them, by the way. It was an interesting story. Like, what the hell was the name of the woman he runs into in the dream? I forgot her name. I'm flipping pages. Eve. Oh, he runs into Eve. Okay.
As in Adam and
Eve.
Yeah, like no, that is the Eve.
Okay, that's
like,
cool.
Adam's like non-banished wife.
Does the banished wife ever come back? Mentioned. That's a question I shouldn't be asking.
The middle one?
Yeah.
I don't believe so.
Okay, I was just curious because they. So I was wondering when they talk about the whole parallel of rooks, where the rooks, these like crow-looking birds, will talk to you. Is that a real thing? I was wondering, like he was taking something that really happens or they've seen, and then
I wouldn't be surprised. Birds are weird.
Mm-hmm. I know. I mean, obviously, we all know because of George R. R. Martin, you call crows a murder. I don't know if you call rooks a parliament.
Apparently, that is an accepted collective noun for rooks.
Yep. So there you go. It is like a murder for crows.
oh, you may sometimes see a most mysterious display of rook behavior, which is the rook parliament. This is where a group of rooks encircle an individual, and after much clawing and apparent discussion, set upon the unfortunate victim and peck it to death.
Or just all fly off.
Yeah, that's similar to a murder of crows, believe it or not.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I learned something new. Man, he doesn't like to make up stuff, does he?
No.
I assume the rooks wear like little powdered wigs or something before they murder.
I would hope they follow Robert's rules of order, too.
Yeah. Yeah, they're a little fancier than crows.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. But it is a cool story to kind of like the whole idea of this Cain and Abel talking and the whole thing about Eve and the bodies and how like the second wife, because he saw her being built, essentially, he doesn't want anything to do with her. Like,
Well,
I
like-
saw you go from bone to human. Nope, I'm good. Get out of here.
You don't want to know how the sausage is made.
Fair enough. Or the hot dogs that you order
Yeah.
at place. You don't want to. I'm like, I'm good. I don't need to know what's inside there. It's just tasty. Cook it on the grill and not worry about it. Okay, you got me. Oh, there is one thing that really got me in this book: the images of Sandman and Death in chibi form.
Oh, the
This until I
little
thought-
endless.
This is fucking.
You should look up some of Jill Thompson's work then. This is not the last time she does work with the little endless characters.
Chibi.
Yeah, Jill Thompson's art is great.
Yeah, they're adorable.
It was just one of those random ass things. I'm like, this is fucking cute.
And of course, that's Abel's story.
Oh yeah, and Abel doesn't stutter when he read or when he talk. You know, when he's telling the story, and then Cain murders him at the end.
Well, that's he told the secret that he shouldn't have.
About the rooks, right?
Yeah.
I really want the Death Funko Pop now. It's not cheap, but
I'm sure there is one. Yeah, but I'm sure it has been out of print for like 7 years or whatever.
yeah, I'm looking on eBay and I don't even see it. So, well, I found out one of the Funko Pops I have is worth a lot of money. Apparently,
Moist.
that's cool. The Death Note one's light, which I have to the left of me, is actually worth like $200. So cool.
Son of a bitch.
Wow.
I didn't know there were Death Note pops. Damn it.
I have a couple of them. Only $30. Buy it now. I'm not buying it now, but I'm gonna have to look at it. Fuck it, You guys are making me care way too much about these characters.
We're not. Neil Gaiman is.
Yeah, but I'm only reading it. The only reason I even continued was because of so.
We're just pointing stuff out.
Because when you recommended Dollhouse like 3 years ago or something, that's what did it. 3 or 4. It's been like 3. Yeah, it's been a while. You
It
recommended
has been. I think DOS House was my first episode. One of them, at least.
one of the early ones. Yeah, I don't remember if it was the first published one. Yeah, that's in here. No. Okay.
Might be.
Yeah.
Anyway.
It's just a cool story. I mean, just the whole thing with like the Rooks and Eve and Cain and Abel, and then the baby just goes back to reality.
Yeah, this is just story time for Daniel. And it's interesting how comfortable he is in the dreaming. And how he apparently, at the end of the story, brings a feather back from the dreaming.
I like that.
That might be important.
Ah, damn
Maybe
it.
bookmark that.
Another thing. Put a note in it. Okay.
But it's a fun little story to like go right into issue 50, Ramadan.
I am not really a fan of this one.
I love this one.
Okay.
I like this one a lot too.
Okay, so it's the story of Baghdad. And Baghdad was very advanced. It was the shining jewel in like everybody's eyes. And, you know, another real historical character, Harun al-Rashid, was the caliph of Baghdad. Again, a real person.
That's cool.
Like all of these stories have all had historical, well, maybe not the last one, but the three wives of
What are you
Adam.
saying? Are you telling me the Bible lied to me? Are you telling me that was fiction and Adam and Eve? What do you mean?
Well, the three wives of Adam were brought up in the alphabet of Sirach, which was it was written before the Bible, or like around the Bible-ish. No, I don't know. Between 700 and 1,000.
Hey, just remember, Adam and Eve were around with the
it's a bit
dinosaurs. That's all you gotta remember.
Yep.
Dinosaurs didn't come first, no. Sorry. Let's say Ramadan. So this one I thought was interesting. I don't know, I didn't really care for it. I probably should read it a second time, but it was cool that they mentioned everything with Allah.
I mean, it's basically just a huge city, and the ruler and his people would go out, disguise themselves, and wander the town and look at all the wonders that this city had. But it was never enough for the Caliph. He wanted more. Something still weighed on his shoulder. And, he wanted more for himself. He wanted better.
Hey, he only had a couple Harlems, okay? He didn't have, a boys and women and everything. It wasn't enough.
He had, and I quote, poets, musicians, astrologers, enchanters from China and the Mongol lands with high fur hats and long sleeves full of secrets. Ascetic Bedouin sorcerers who knew the secrets of angels and of the jinn and of men. Animals that spoke like men, and marvelous mechanical wonders that counterfeited life. He had more than a couple harems.
Yeah, I know. I just like there's one part where he's like, then we take a peasant from the day, we let him, have a day of his dreams, and just shows him in the Harlem. Like, yeah, that's a day of the dreams, all right.
Yeah, he got to be the ruler for a day.
He got to sleep with many, many women.
And eat good food.
Yeah. But I was wondering, you think he only stole what he couldn't buy, couldn't afford? And that's everything, right?
Well, I mean,
that's...
the vizier's name in the story is Jafar, so...
And Aladdin is very clearly set in the dreams version of Baghdad, so it all works out.
But, it's the grand struggle of history. Just knowing that you can achieve so much, and in the end, it's going to mean nothing, because everything dies. All civilizations fall. And he wants to stop that. So much so that he will open a metaphorical Pandora's box to get it.
That was kind of cool. He has this globe of all these demons and jinn, and he's like, "I'll throw it if you don't approach me, Sandman or Dream."
So he throws it and rescued, I'd probably say about maybe 6 inches above the ground, by Dream, who just comes in like, "And you called me like a servant." So good.
It is. And I also love the way Dream looks in this with that robe that he has on.
Mm-hmm.
That is a pretty dope robe.
And he's like, "You shouldn't summon the people you can't send away." I like that too.
And they get on a flying carpet, which of course was real. And they go on a journey, and they go look over all of the buildings and the treasures of the city, one of which seriously looks like the Legion of Doom hideout from the old Super Friends cartoon.
You are unfortunately right.
Like, straight up.
I do like when they have the woman with a cat tail that's on for sale, that they're trying to sell as a slave. I'm like, okay, cat tail, all right, you got me.
Check it out, she's white. Like, that's pretty much a selling point.
Yeah.
Cat girl, whatever, but she's a white cat girl.
Yeah, she got cat ears, she's got a tail. That should be the selling point right there. Apparently they don't know what anime is yet at this time in the in Baghdad. They weren't introduced to all that yet. But it's just it was, I mean, I did like the ending. I feel like Dream kind of, tricks him essentially. Like, or not tricks him, but kind of just takes advantage of his stupidity.
Well, I don't think so. I think he gives him exactly what he wants.
Yeah.
And sometimes, as we learned back in the story about the hunt, wishes should not be granted.
We could say sometimes God's greatest gifts are the unanswered prayers.
Yeah. I
got to work in graphics every so often. But yeah, I mean, he puts, because you have the scene where the guy ends up renouncing the city essentially, and then all of a sudden you see him in like a ruined city that he's the king of.
Yep.
And Dream has the bottle of Candor. He's holding, Baghdad in a bottle.
And this is basically the fantastic, perfect version of Baghdad that will forever live on in folklore and legend. And will never be what was once true.
I do like how the last panel is, a kid in the war-torn version of it, which, again, this would have been Desert Storm at this time in the 80s.
It is ironic that, this is 1992 or 1991 or whatever, and it's like, this could be any time in the last 35 years.
Yeah, unfortunately, yes.
Ugh.
Yeah,
it hit a little more. That's a little, okay.
But the important thing is, this kid still dreams. And even in an environment like that, it just goes to show the power of dreams. Like I said at the beginning, boom.
It reminds me, it's very different in a lot of ways, but have either of you ever read Alan Moore's Promethea?
I haven't read it yet, no, but it's on my bookshelf.
No.
Yeah, it's basically, the idea is that I think it's in like Egypt or something like that. It's somewhere in the Middle East. The daughter of a magician is about to be killed, and they basically wish her into being a dream, and that is how later on in the 20th century people are able to summon the power of this girl into becoming this magical character. So the idea is, by becoming, Batman Begins, by becoming a symbol, you become more than a man, like that Baghdad becomes more than just a place you can go, that it becomes an idea or a concept. And that's kind of, it is the catch-22 of when he comes back to, his world, it makes his world worse. But the positive is it lasts for 1,000 years,
It's cool.
And that's, it's proven, because how many years later those stories are still being told.
Right. The Disney Corporation is releasing Aladdin.
Yeah. Several versions.
Telling you that Baghdad is cool. Except the one song that Robin Williams is not allowed to sing in whatever new version they make. In the live action version.
Live action's okay, but it's got nothing on the original.
Did they cut that song, the beginning song about where they'll cut off your nose if they don't like your face?
I don't remember.
It's barbaric, but hey, it's home. I feel like they got cut, because I remember there was a controversy in the 90s.
I mean, that kind of makes sense, but yes.
There was a big controversy about that back in the day. And that's not to say that we've ever learned any lessons about that.
No.
But, whatever. But that's the last story in this one.
Yeah. I do like that Sandman is constantly throwing the tenets of the Muslim faith back at this version of this character, who is, again, based on a historical guy, at least very, very loosely. But yeah, he's just like, on Ramadan, you're going to offer me a grape? Really?
Yeah, I mean, he was...
I did like that the guy's eating when nobody else is supposed to be. That was it fit.
Like, Harun al-Rashid was very much a religious man, very much. And the tales of 1001 Nights built on his legendary presence, because that, he was a real person, but he was more famously portrayed in those stories. So it's pretty cool. They're doing a lot of interesting stuff with, the 1001 Nights tales of Scheherazade, and they're also dealing with the historical person that Harun al-Rashid actually was, at least as far as we know. But it's cool. And that's the one thing I really do like about Sandman, is that this is like the one historical fiction that I can get behind.
I'll take it.
like for the most part, historical fiction's kind of like, yeah, okay. I'm sure that those people totally met and totally, hung out and loved each other. Whatever, okay. But this I can deal with. I like this.
Well, you can believe that Shakespeare played to a bunch of monsters and stuff and pictures and fables? Okay.
Actually, I can. I believe that more than like Jack the Ripper being friends with another serial killer during that time.
Yeah, I don't buy that either.
Yeah,
historical fiction.
They would have killed each other.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I mean, I buy that Holmes was stupid and his assistant turned him in. I buy that part. Well, I mean, that's true. I don't know. All right. I think that... Oh, and just random knowledge. As we've been talking, I did buy the Sandman Death Funko Pop, by the way. So it was $20 on Amazon at the time of this recording.
Well, there you go.
August 1st, 2023. Yeah, so I picked it up. I'm like, I looked it up. I was like, it's $30 on eBay. And then Amazon just clicked up. I was just curious. And I'm like, $20? 2-day shipping? And it's on its way here. So
fantastic.
That's the only Sandman pop too, by the way.
Well, that's a damn shame.
It really is. It's also the comic version of that. It's not the show. It's just the comic, and that's what I want.
No, who else would you even have? Morpheus.
All you need is Morpheus.
Yeah, who else would you even have?
I mean, I say
you'd have
Delirium,
to have
Desire.
Yeah, I guess you could have the other Endless.
Yeah, you couldn't.
Yeah.
Well,
Destiny
Despair
with
would be
a
a
little
little hard.
book. Yeah, get Hob. Get.
Hey, I mean, they do everything.
Coming up in more episodes, but you definitely need the Corinthian.
Sure, yeah. You get a little chibi Corinthian.
That'd be adorable.
I want a fucking Chibi Death now, damn it. I want that Chibi Death from that. You know what? I'm going to I need to get back to that page and go upstairs and show my wife when I go to sleep Chibi Death. And then she might actually read this book again. Oh no, I just really got a kick out of Chibi Death and Chibi or Morpheus. I don't know. It was just so awesome. All right, let's go to Shelf Stacker Box instead of me rambling. And Chris, what about you?
I would say shelf. It's not on my shelf at the moment, but yeah, this is. I really do feel like Gaiman's coming into his own. I do like the separate stories because it is just an opportunity to tell like very fun done in ones, or Orpheus, which is more like a done in three. But yeah, I really like the confidence he has in sort of expanding the mythology of the world.
All right, and Ken.
Oh, this is absolutely going on my shelf. Like I said at the top of the episode, I really like this book. I know it's not lore focused, but it's great and it sets the tone.
Okay. And I'll go last. I'm also going to put this on the shelf. I really enjoyed most of it. I mean, sure, there's a couple that I didn't enjoy as much, but as we've been talking, you made me appreciate more and more of all these issues, even Ramadan and even like the Rooks. Like I'm just everything but the August. I can't appreciate August more, but the rest of the book, it's just such a good book. And Sandman keeps blowing me away with how much I enjoy this series. And I can't wait for us to continue with 7, 8, 9, and 10. And then probably 11 and 12. I probably won't stop. I don't think I'm going to do the stuff after Neil Gaiman just because I don't care enough. But
I think you got to do High Cost of Living.
Okay. Well, I mean, once we finish, sure, why not? I don't mind doing more stuff that I can add to this freaking collection of stuff. So that's all I'm just confused why eBay is selling Death for $30 when I just bought it on Amazon for 20.
Because people are dumb and they'll buy things without looking. And,
Fair.
I know we've covered Sandman books outside of Spooktober before.
Yes.
And we'll do it again.
Yes.
But I don't know, something just feels so right about reading Sandman for Spooktober. Like, it's not necessarily always horror, but it's mostly horror adjacent. And
I mean, yeah.
when it's not horror, it has some terrible things that happen in it.
Dollhouse was horror, in my opinion.
That was straight up horror. And there's more horror coming.
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah.
Hey, I'm all on board. I'm loving these. So, sign me up. I'm now that I have 3 people. I got you guys. We're gonna do the whole series. We just did 6. 7 is gonna. The plan is 7 will be this Spooktober. That's the plan. I can't guarantee it will happen, but that's the plan. And then 8, 9, and 10 will happen.
I'm hoping 2024 we're done.
Yeah, I'll make sure. That's not hard.
I know.
I'm also trying to wrap up series more now in the show than I was before. I'm trying to finish stuff I started so I can move on to other stuff. Because there are other comics I want to read. Like I want to read Saga. I want to read Preacher. So I need to finish Sandman.
You should read Moon Knight. What?
I know. We'll do an Arkham Moon. I need to do that. End the show. All right. And Chris, where can we find you at?
As I mentioned, you can find me at Your Stupid Minds. We just recently did an episode on the Care Bears movie instead of Barbie. We talked about one of the worst based on a toy movies I've ever seen. It almost broke my brain. And you can listen and find out which Care Bears we love and which ones we hate, which is most of them. We love Grumpy Bear, though. He has the right attitude, and all the other bears are bad. Or you can listen to some of my friends read comics. We've almost finished. We've been doing a long read of Nightfall. That's almost done. And we've recently done, we're almost to the death of Captain America from 2004, I think. And we just read the Simpsons Futurama crossover issues from Bongo Comics in 2002 and 2005.
It's really too bad they killed off Captain America and he never came back.
Yeah, it's been almost 18 years now. No Captain America.
Amazing.
Hey, at least it wasn't as bad as Miss Marvel dying in a Spider-Man comic. Hey, look, guess what? Here's her new series and her new costume and everything.
Yeah, and she wakes up on Krakoa and is like, "You're a mutant. Congratulations. We're gonna throw that Inhumans origin in the trash can."
Just like everything else is Inhumans.
Yeah. We have the rights to X-Men, so you're one of them now.
We don't care anymore about Inhumans now that we.
No, yeah, we don't need Inhumans. Streaming now on Disney Plus. You can watch the whole season if you want. It stinks.
I like it.
I don't like it at all. I think it's pretty. Again, it's everything I don't like about streaming shows. And that the first episode is okay, and the next 4 are nothing.
I get it. All right, and if you enjoyed this episode, you can listen to all the other Sandman that we've done, and all the Sandman that might have been done by the time, depending on what year you decide to listen to this episode. So go look. We have a huge catalog. You can find everything on our Podbean website. You can just go insert, type in Sandman, type in Star Wars, type in Batman. You will find something. You will find tons of something, actually, with all the things that I named. So type in Reanimator. Hey, you'll find that too, unfortunately. So, and Under the Skin. You'll find that too. So just, we do all sorts of random movies, films, comics, video games, all sorts of stuff. So go look through our giant catalog of episodes that we have created. If you want to support the show, we do a Patreon with Little Dog. Vote in our Patreon poll. You'll see a link in the show notes. We have a Discord. Please join that. I have updated the link. I'm going to keep saying that. So it should work. If it doesn't, tell me somehow. Message me on Facebook. You can find me everywhere. Twitter, Messenger. I'm on Threads, Instagram. Oh, sorry, not Twitter. X. I'm on X. Unless it's still around at the time of recording this. But no, you can find us all there. Please follow us there. I want to give a shout out to my awesome intro and outro courtesy of Helena at Hell Has Fury. Follow her on TikTok. And I want to give a shout out to my buddy Bill Tucker, did the MCU movies with me. He made his own podcast, The Gamer Looks at 40, so definitely go check him out. I think that's everything I need to say, so we will see you guys all next time. Bye, everybody.
So long, everybody. Sweet dreams.